Greetings, Captains, and welcome to the first in a potential series regarding the fleet actions in Star Trek Online. I'll leave you to decide whether that is a promise or a threat at the end of this video. The idea is to give new players, or at least relatively inexperienced players, a quick and dirty guide to how to do the various fleet actions in Star Trek Online, preferably before their teammates start cursing them out for doing it wrong. We are beginning with the Gorn Minefield, despite the fact that it is the second fleet action that new captains will gain access to. I picked this one for the pilot mostly because this is the first fleet action that can go horribly, horribly wrong if people aren't completely up to speed on it. You can't lose the mission, it's not the cure, but yeah, it can get stalled, and you will see how later on. This first phase, however, is as straightforward as they come, pretty much. Kill 60 frigates and free 10 ships from minefields. Now, you would think, based on the way the objectives list is written, you can see it in the right-hand corner of the screen, and based on the numbers involved, that the frigates are the primary objective and the minefields are the secondary. In fact, it's the other way around. There are so many frigates that if you just trundle from large asteroid to large asteroid, clearing the Gorn and the mines as you go, you will hit the frigates required without even trying. However, our colleagues do not seem inclined to do that, so let us go around the fiercest fighting and deliver ourselves upon the enemy's flank at this first minefield. Plan here is pretty simple. Blitz through the minefield, clear it with scatter volley and torpedo spread as we go, then use evasive manoeuvres to clear out. Now if we've got some engine batteries, no we don't, pity, we'll take a few extra hits, but meh, shouldn't make a difference. Now then, in the immortal words of Starfleet, fire everything. So, scatter volley is away, alpha's away, minefield is gone. The cruiser is going to drop its own mines in a second, because they can, but the freighter should go to warp. There she goes. Job's done, let's get out of here. Don't really want to be hanging around. The shields are taking a bit more of a beating than I'd like. Tactical team will rebalance them on the fly. I strongly recommend having at least tactical team 1 in any build you take for that rebalance, and because it clears boarding parties, which is really handy against Borg in the endgame. But we'll come to that if I ever get round to the endgame. So, with the last of the Gorn that were engaged with our colleagues going down fairly rapidly, die thank you, we are now free to clear off the Gorn that were chasing us, no doubt thinking that it was only one little escort. The fools. We will take away their metal starships. So, standard combined tactics, cruisers sail in and take a few hits, the science vessel pins them in place, and the escorts shoot them away. All very simple. You could make a joke about cruisers being anvils and escorts being hammers, but you have to stretch the metaphor a little to include science vessels. I suppose you could call them tongs, but yes, that kind of metaphor abuse really isn't Starfleet policy these days. Anyway, rinse and repeat until you have cleared 10 minefields and 60 frigates, and you are on to phase 2 of this mission. 36 cruisers. How hard could it be? Well, the answer is not very, unfortunately actually, because you can still do it while staying in this first area of the map, despite the designers seemingly wanting you to move further into the zone. You still got cruisers in this section. You can do the entire second objective in the first area. And oh god, the problems this has caused. Oh lord. It's not good. You'll see why later on when you actually have to move to engage the third wave of enemies, and most people don't. This is how this mission can go wrong. people not opening the map, not checking their objectives, and I have seen Gorn Fleet Action stall for way too long and eventually just fail, not because anybody blew an objective, but because nobody thought to go after it. If there is one lesson you take away from this video, look at your map. Look at your map. This is worth repeating. Look at your map. Anyway, let's just quickly deal with these guys, because you really have to fight through them on the normal playthrough of this mission to get your way through to the main cruiser squadrons. And frankly, because at this stage the frigates are little loot and XP pinatas, not by much, mind you. They're only giving 4 or 5 skill points a time, and at Captain, when you need, what is it, 334,000 total skill points to get up to Rear Admiral lower half, the next round of starships and ranks, that's really not all that much. Anyway, we'll leave our colleagues behind for a moment and head on to look at the next wave. This is what you ought to be doing, ladies and gentlemen, not what most people tend to do. Full impulse, head on in. It also doesn't help, of course, that there's nothing on the sensors because of STO's visibility range, and you can see the cruiser squadrons just starting to pop in here. Now these tend to be waves of 3 cruisers, usually with an accompaniment, sometimes not. That accompaniment can be the odd frigate or even the odd battleship. Stel there has had the same idea, and he's heading off to tackle this wave. So, standard escort tactics, scatter volley and torpedo spread to lead in. Alpha wasn't available at the start, but can live with that. So, first attack rounds complete, evasive manoeuvres to blitz away, keep the turrets firing, to at least try and keep his shields from regenerating, come round, rapid fire and high yield, and just murder this first guy, switch to the second. The heavy plasma will automatically relock, except that the AI is actually quite good at point defence. Forward shields have gone, pop emergency power to bring them back up and turn away again to protect the facing. Fire on my mark just to up the damage, kill the second cruiser. Back up to speed, onto the third, rapid fire and high yield again since they're recharged, and here we go. Nothing very complex about this. If you're flying an escort, this kind of attack, pass, evade away, attack again is really bread and butter. No hull repairs on standby at the moment, just going to have to live with that. Evade away, get some range for the final strafing pass. Lock in scatter volley, just to try and boost things up a little. I'm not actually sure it does, but bam, there we go. High yield finished him off. Now then, how's Stel doing? Still engaged for some reason. I thought we hit our groups at about the same moment, but never mind. I'm also not sure what Section 31 have to do with the Senate and people of Rome, but some things I will never ever forget the answer to. Oh, okay, that's why it's taken him so long. Sono pazzi questi Romani? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the next unpleasant surprise in the Gorn Minefield. I don't care what you thought Zealand battleships were like when you ran into them solo. In this fleet action, they are a nightmare. Case in point, it has taken Stel as long to drop that one battleship as it took me to drop 3 cruisers. They are that tough. They are armed to match, and basically you really don't want to be tangling with these guys solo, even if you know what you're doing. So that's cleared these guys. Now we're up to 28 of 36, so bear in mind that the 2 of us killed off 6 of those. And you can see why that wave is so much more efficient than the first area. And you'll understand my surprise that more people don't head to it. Anyway, on to phase 3. Now, there is a minefield. This is the biggest minefield in this zone, although it's only the second largest minefield I've ever seen. And you have to kill 12 of the aforementioned nightmare battleships. They come in waves of 3 just to make things even more fun. This is where you really have to be grouped up. You can see the map is telling you where to go. Yes, rather a large minefield. Now it's worth noting that because of the way the game treats photon mines, you can see we've already run 12 kills despite the fact that we're the only ship here. That's because the mines that the cruisers drop count. So if you're still popping off cruisers, you're going to be running up this objective anyway, and bang, there you go. Remember I said battleships were nasty? That was a tachyon beam. It has completely frickin' stripped my shields. Their torpedoes are doing horrible things to my hull. God, where are my repairs? Get some shields back. This is going to hurt. Scatter volley. Let's just clear some of these mines before there's any more damage to my paintwork. And don't even ask why the mines were carrying lockboxes. I do not know. Now, Stell is inbound after we left him with that wave of cruisers. And since we have helpfully dragged the battleships out and separated one off from his mates, he can engage. There he goes. You could almost believe we planned this, but honestly we didn't. It just happened. And for those of you who are watching the lower left of the screen, yeah, teammates are 120 kilometres away. Now here comes the next reason why Z-Lance are nasty. That's a high yield 3 salvo coming my way, and bang! Yeah. If you are in an escort, these things can and will strip your shields, first off, and then they will have your hull with torpedo salvos. Stell is, frankly, stuffed. I mean, one battleship on its own with maybe a few cruisers or frigates backing it is tough but doable. More than one battleship, just don't even bother. And I actually think we accidentally tripped a few frigates and cruisers in as well, just to make things even more doomed. Anyway, let us head back. I don't imagine Stell will have lived through that little fiasco before we get back to him. The rest of the team is still tied up on cruisers. I've said it before in this video, for the love of all that is holy, do not let that happen, or you are in for a world of, well, not even pain, just a world of boredom. Anyway, head over the blockade. 3 dimensions, people. 3 of them. We'll pass the cruisers coming up on the battleships and drop from impulse. Now, I am not engaging until we have some mates. Yeah, Stell's had it. You can see the floating wreckage over there. You can also see the colossal hole we've torn in the minefield. Fortunately, these guys don't respawn, despite what the mission briefing said. They also don't have anything like the damage the mission said. And let's fast forward a bit, because frankly, waiting 10 minutes for everyone else to show up was just boring. Final phase. 1 dreadnought and a lot of orbital weapon platforms. But first we'll get rid of this guy just to clear out the Alaster and the San Clement so they can come and help. More lockboxes. Ugh! I could do a whole other rant on lockboxes. Suffice it to say, I have no intention of spending C points on these things ever again. Not least because I have no other use for energy credits on my main characters, and even a lazy sod like me has a few million of those in the bank. Anyway, side diversion over. Each of those big stations you can see has got various weapon platforms mounted on it. They aren't an issue, but the Balor class dreadnought definitely is. That's your target. There's only one of them, and you can just bait it away from the platforms or kill them, as has been done here. It's entirely down to you. Now, as with the battleships, forget this guy solo. I mean, he has torpedo spread 3, he has high yield 3, he has emergency power to shields 3, he has a hull and shield arrays that you would probably kill to have. I mean, you can see here that there are, what, 4 of us wailing on him, and we're bringing him down reasonably okay. He's not shy about using any of his abilities, so get a group and he goes fairly easily. Don't, and you're in for a world of pain. And with him gone, the fleet action ends. Rewards are dished out. The Admiral is happy. Hopefully he won't complain too much about the dog. And you are free to engage the warp drive and leave the map. And I will end this video. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, if there is one.